We are bringing in our very special guest. He is the team leader of the Mr. Rogers team out in the East Valley, though he is valley-wide. And one of my good friends, one of our top producers here at West USA Realty every single year.
Always.
And his team is one of our top producing teams here at West USA each and every year. His name is Shawn Rogers. Shawn, good morning, buddy.
Good morning, everybody. Pleasure to be here.
All right, you got to get right into that microphone.
Yeah, straight on.
All right, how was the drive?
It was beautiful.
Every time I have him on, he's like, "Do I really have to make the drive?"
Pack my lunchbox. I am.
All right, so we're going to talk to Shawn about best practices. Generally, when we have top producers on, we always have them, give us their 5 tips, and Shawn's already done that. So I wanted to dig a little deeper. I consider Shawn Rogers one of the very best when it comes down to working the phones, prospecting, whether it's prospecting, taking an internet lead in, give Shawn a phone and he look out.
Magical things happen.
Because I sometimes get on the phone with Shawn and now he has me doing things I didn't really want to do.
It happens.
It happens.
So take us through some of your strategies, some of your philosophies when it comes down to phone prospecting. I guess we could start with, how do you start? How do you prepare yourself to say, okay, for the next block of time, I'm working the phones?
Great question, Mike. And traditionally, when a lead comes in to me, first and foremost, you got to research the lead. I guess it would be if a patient comes into the doctor's office prior to them going in and visiting, they look at their charts. They look at the information for that person. So that's one of the first things I do is to try to acclimate myself with what that particular person needs. And then as basic as this may sound, Mike, I traditionally ask them how their day is going and how can I make it better. I put real estate on the shelf for a second. They're human beings, and whether they're investors, first-time buyers, or anywhere in between, it's an emotional thing first and foremost. My expertise hopefully will shine if I get a chance, an opportunity to work with them. But first and foremost, I ask them how their day is going and how I can make it better.
Love it.
So how do you say you learn a little bit more about them? What are some of your processes? One of the things that I do, obviously, if it's a live transfer, you got very limited time. But back to $5 a month for Forewarn. I'm on the phone with people or I got a lead coming in. First thing I do is I go on Forewarn, see whether it's a legit number, see whether they've had a bankruptcy in the last 6 months, see whether they're felons and whether I even want to get into the car with them. But I also get an address history of them. What are some of the things that you do?
Mike, great bullet points. Again, that's about what I do as well. And I guess great minds think alike, or at least our minds think alike, whether that's good or bad. But I traditionally look at the information given, and if it's whether it's a direct connect lead, like a right live transfer, or it comes in through a third party site, however the information was given to you, traditionally you're going to have first name, last name, area code, and a little bit about where they're looking. If not, then I guess you're right. You're kind of starting from scratch, but that's where you ask generic lead questions. Where are you looking? What's your time frame? How can I help make the buy and or sell? And by the way, Mike, that's another huge tip. I would say go to nugget for a lot of agents that don't ask that question. Do they have to sell?
Mhm.
Are they currently renting? Again, helping them with their move or moves. So if I have that information, I'll ask those leading questions. If I don't, then I'll draw back to what I actually have sitting next to my computer. Now it's burned into my memory, but the questions of, again, how's your day going? What could I best help? Where are we looking? Just, again, generic questions that will lead into specific conversations.
I think phone prospecting is probably the most challenging part of an agent's business because most agents don't want to prospect. They don't want to pick up the phone and call people. Most agents aren't skilled at it. Most agents are afraid of rejection and being rejected on the phone and so forth. It is an emotional endeavor for agents to say every single day I'm going to spend X amount of time on the phone prospecting. I just don't know any other way I have not figured out any other way to be successful in this business without using my phone, without picking up the phone and prospecting and calling people and calling people. If you just wait, if all you do is just wait for your phone to ring, it's just going to be people selling you solar.
You're gonna be lonely.
I thought you were going to go in the other direction. I mean, if all you do is, and then I was going to say, just call your people and have fun and have conversations with them. Eventually, it'll lead to real estate. I was going to like, yeah, that's the answer. Go for it.
Well, Mike and crew, I don't want to brag, but I think I actually sold an auto warranty call or a house. And if you have to practice with that, then maybe that's the route you go. You
Now
just
that's a
every
conversion.
phone call. Yeah, well, yeah,
When I have time, I do it all the time.
Right.
When I get those sales calls, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
But are you looking? Are you wanting to make more money?
Well, think about it. They've been received the most recent training on how to convert people, or they've even been maybe they've been just thrown to the wolves. But I know our CEO of the company, Clint Fouts. I know for a fact he and I have had multiple conversations about how both of us, when we get solicited, we stay on the phones and have conversations with these people, not because we want to buy or be interrupted, because it's the most awesome training you can get right there on your behalf. Just listen to how they're manipulating in the conversation.
Todd, you can't get better free practice than that. And you might walk out with knowledge. If you get the ultimate win, then sure, you're going to help them as a real estate agent, or get a good core warranty. You never know.
Who was that person that I called many years ago trying to sell the home warranty or the auto warranty, and they almost had me buying a house? I want to call that. Oh, that was Shawn Rogers. Yeah, I got to call that guy.
That's how you go about it. And Mike, and on the phone, one of the things I kind of ponder is it's not maybe more leads an agent needs, but to work the lead longer and properly. The best way to keep other agents off the phone is for you to stay on the phone with those clients.
That's a
or
huge
potential
nugget
clients.
right there.
Let's say I'm a newer agent, don't have a lot of business going on. If you were my team leader, how many calls a week should I be making?
Mike, again, a great question. And I say this from my heart. Sometimes I wonder if it's quality versus quantity, but if you're newer, I think the practice, the at-bats are the most important. And I don't want to date myself here, but if you had a phone book and you just started making phone calls, just to practice on how to say hello, who you are, and sometimes just the name of your title. I mean, I know we always kind of practice. Maybe you don't say you're a real estate agent, just say you're a wealth manager, or you're here to assist in one way or the other. I think I go way back to my Toastmasters days when my opening line used to be, "How much does a polar bear weigh?" And then the person would say, "I don't know," and I'd stick out my arm for a handshake and say, "Enough to break the ice." And my name is Shawn Rogers. And sometimes that has nothing to do with real estate.
I cannot tell you how many agents I recommend. And they don't listen.
Yeah.
But go to Toastmasters. It is what an amazing opportunity to learn how to speak in front of people, have one-on-one conversations and so forth, and just learn how to communicate better. Good for you.
100%.
I'd like to answer, if I can, that question. How many do you need? Because I think we kind of glossed over it. But and then we'll ask Shawn. From my perspective, it's however many you need to achieve the volume that you're looking for. So as you get better, you'll need to potentially talk to fewer people. As you are newer, then to Shawn's point, use it as a learning experience. Talk to anybody and everybody. If they're breathing, have a conversation.
Exactly.
I measure it on, because we're going through a lot of the stuff with our team. It's not, for me, it's not so much the amount of calls. I want to know how much talk time you've had. How much talk time have you logged in today talking about real estate? Because if you tell me you're going to call 90 people today, but you only called 10 and you spent 6 hours on the phone talking about real estate, I'm going to say that's a pretty successful day.
That's a win.
I don't know that we can go much further than that. But however, again, there's a balance. How to win friends and influence people. That somebody wrote a book about that many years ago, but you should have read it, Dale Carnegie. So the thing is that what you don't want is somebody that the next time they see on their cell phone, Todd Menard's calling or you're calling, is to say, I don't want to answer it because they're going to wrap me into a 1-hour telephone conversation.
See, you know what? I'm going to share one of our biggest secrets here. So my team may get mad at me for this. My response is, I actually tell people, what I want is when your phone rings and you see my name, the first thing that should come to your head is, I'm about to make money or I'm about to get paid.
I like that.
But all right, before we move on, a couple little tips. Did you know, are you a stand on the phone guy, walking around or sitting, or because I think it's the little nuances. Some of the little nuances help us become better prospectors on the phone.
Mike, what a great question. I don't want to bring up my medical history, but my wife just got me one of those watches that count your steps. And my doctor, ironically, who's a client, so it all kind of works out. We're clients of each other. Because I'll tell you what you should do, because you enjoy talking, which is not a secret. Every time you get on the phone, walk around, and I'm sure you'll hit your steps
That's what we
quick.
do.
So my point is, I'm more of a walk around when I'm talking, and I'm trying to say that's to help my health cause.
Are you a script or no script guy?
I freewheel and skate. Usually I just throw the pitch and I'll
But
figure it out.
you've been doing it so long. You've been doing it so long. But newer agents, my problem with scripts is they become a crutch, and then we sit there and read them. I'm more of a bullet point. Like, these are the points that I need to make, and so that I can create a choose your own adventure. When I find when agents have a script, they just read it verbatim.
100%. And Mike, another thing, although I enjoy talking and giving information, one thing that will help newer agents would be, you have to listen. And every little bit of information that a potential client will give you, that could be your bullet point to take to the next step.
Totally.
Whether it's talking about food, the weather, where they're moving from, what kind of car they drive, if their sporting team won or lost. It doesn't always have to be, and I know many of us get into the business for financial goals, but if you help the person and put the money almost at the bottom, it will always turn out to be beneficial for you in the long run.
All right, let's talk about, and I know we talked a little bit about it during the 3-pack, but again, you spend a great deal of time meeting with people face to face. You spend a great deal of time on the phone. Obviously, the biggest objection that we are facing from our consumers, our prospects, are rates. Rates are so high. I'm waiting. I've read 2 studies. One study said that the average American's waiting till rates to drop to 5.5. I read another one said that the average American is waiting for them to drop to 5%. So, which means, well, one, we're nowhere near that right now, which means the majority of potential home buyers are sitting on the fence and waiting. And I think one of the number one reasons is because of rates. So walk me through those discussions and how you convince me that rates aren't as big of a deal as I think they are.
All right, role play.
Mike, where'd you go?
Mike, traditionally, and that is on everybody's brain. I understand that it's about the dollars and cents, but traditionally, I'll ask them if that's first shot in the dark at us, which I respect, that rates are high. I usually counter back with, what's the worst that can happen if you find your property now and lock into a rate that might be higher than was traditionally, going back to, I think it was 1981, rates were about 18%. So we're way lower than that. I don't know that people focus on what it used to be, but if in fact they're concerned about the rates now, I traditionally say, what's the worst that can happen? If the rates go higher, you're locked in lower. If the rates go lower, you can refinance. And although I'm not a lender, most lenders have programs that they'll discount or help you with that refinance, your repeat business to them. And if they care about the longevity of their business, like we do, they want to take care of a repeat client, referrals as well. And if they keep the house for the amount of time that the rates, if it were to stay the same, I still think, by the numbers, being a numbers person, that they're going to the equity is one thing, but if they were going to wait and pay the average rent now, let's call it $3,000, 3 times 12, if my math is correct, is about $36,000. That's the money that they could put towards their financial goals. And those are some of the tips I would give a person that don't focus so much on the rate. Buy the house, turn it into your home, enjoy it, and then we can see what the future holds. I don't know anyone that has a crystal ball or magic wand.
I had one. and I dropped it
Darn it.
and it cracked.
We could have used it.
Yeah.
And the whole world's been in mayhem since.
Thanks, Mike.
Not only did he start the investment craze, he also cracked the globe.
I was so terrified when I had my first child that I was going to drop him. Right? I don't know whether that's anyways. I don't know how I got there. But Todd, I love what Shawn did with that, and it's something that I don't even do because I get into vomiting information and stats and so forth. You just led your comeback was a question. I love that. So I mean, yeah.
And it's the one they need to ponder. What's the worst thing? Because that's really what they're afraid of. And if they're not really in the end afraid of what might really happen or their worst fear, then they're more likely to want to do business.
Spot on, Todd. And again, if we are the professionals in our field, we have to add value. I know it might be cliche, but customer service is everything. If you're not offering that, then you're really probably not different than a third-party website that's not even, their corporate isn't in the Valley of the Sun.
I think a great follow-up question to that is, what's the best thing that could happen?
That could be as well.
I mean, because now let's focus on the very best possible outcome, and you want to leave all of that money on the table,
right? And Mike, if it is about money, again, it's twofold. Investors are a different breed, but if somebody's looking, and I in your 3-pack, by the way, as I was listening, great as always. One of the things that you said is some people need to move. And some people want to move. If they need to move, then we have to shift as an agent, you have to shift your conversation to answer those needs. And if they want to move, it's different. So again, if it's all about money and they maybe want to upsize or downsize, they're definitely focusing on rates and location and a better altered life for them. But if they're moving, maybe they had a better job, the numbers won't always tie into the equation.
One of the questions, though, I always do ask is, and it goes back to the lesson I've always tried to teach my kids is always consider the source of information. Rates are high. This is a bad time to buy. The market's going to crash, and da 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 da. And I'm just gonna get stranded. And I do ask them. I mean, what are you reading that I'm not reading? Because everything I'm reading is contrary, and I'm not trying to be contrary here, but everything I'm reading is contrary to what you're telling me. What am I missing here? Where are those? Where are those studies? Where are those economists?
And Mike, again, I think going back to your earlier conversation, I think we don't have the bandwidth of bigger social media sites out there, and people are just bombarded with. I wanted to say thanks, Todd. I wanted to say news, but I'm not sure if news is exactly what it is. It's put out there. It's just regurgitating the same thing. And sometimes people mock what they don't understand. And if they just see it over and over, a lot of their friends and family are telling them, how many conversations will we have where buyers are like, oh, I know you have to put 20% down or we can't buy a house. And that might have been good information for other reasons, but that's not necessarily gospel. You might be able to buy a house with nothing down.
And to Mike's point, in the 3-pack, if you're talking to someone and that person can't qualify, I mean, their rates off, their income, they don't have the saved amount of money. Of course, those people are going to talk negative about the market just as a way of justifying why they can't play.
Exactly, Todd. And now everybody, like you said, it's not one size fits all. And that kind of goes back to Mike's other question. You have to gather that information. And you don't want to waste time. Again, I'm a firm believer, treat people correctly, whether it's a karma thing or being raised right, whatever it might be. But traditionally, you might be speaking to a person that really can't play that game.
I know you think that you were raised right, but your parents raised you to be a Bills fan. And I don't know.
Going there, huh?
Oh, was that going to? Well, you're a
Bills and Patriots,
fan, so that's no better. Okay, did I just get personal?
Totally. No, not at all. You like a dolphin.
So far, Dolphins aren't protected classes. So
I was about to say Dolphins are 2-0.
Right. What did the Bills do to them last year?
It's not last year. See, this is the thing. You would tell every agent on your team, let's look to the future. Let's not focus on the past.
Okay, and touche. We haven't played you yet. And the last time we
All
did,
right,
we won.
preparing for rates to drop.
Right.
Okay, but I want to, and you can brief. I think we're for the most part, I think we've hammered that on this podcast, right?
Right.
But you can definitely add something. But I wanna kind of now change gears a little bit of put you in your team leader role. You run one of the most prolific teams here at West USA. Um, how are you preparing your team as far as conversations, uh, budgeting, getting through the storm, and preparing for when rates do drop?
Great question, Mike. Ebbs and flows. And I just think, like life in oceans, everything's going to follow that pattern. To have an agent at any level say that they're busy, I'm sorry, not busy, it kind of drives me not crazy, but it's crazy to me that they think you're not busy, because you could be having, at this point, knowing what rates are and knowing that inventory is low. And if you read your data, and Todd, again, great point, you need to bring in facts so you have education to give to clients. But I explain to the team that, well, right now rates are high and inventory is low. That's where you should be having good conversations and getting into the mindset of the maybe non-professional first-time buyers. They need your guidance to walk them through, because you can't enjoy a rainbow without a thunderstorm, I guess. And here we are. And again, I don't think I'm not busy. I'm as busy as I've ever been.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes the conversation shifts on, calming people down.
Well, I also think agents define busy in different ways. I find most agents define busy as how many deals that they have going on, right, and
Mhm.
how many escrows that they have. Even if you don't have escrows, you should be busy going back to prospecting.
100%.
And it's still a full-time job, but don't get caught up in the busy work.
Right.
Taking
And that goes back maybe, Mike, to some of the news that you read out there online of how many deals are closing or what's expected of you. Again, we joke and call it farming, but what you're closing is what you're closing. But what you should be doing is making sure that the crops are being properly seeds planted, tended to, and that's what keeps your funnel or your pipeline flowing. And when rates adjust, whichever way they go, you're going to be a different kind of busy, but always keep your mindset focused, and you got to stay true to your cause.
All right. Last topic. As a team leader, and I know we have a lot of agents out there that have entertained the idea of joining a team, and I would highly recommend you, if you are one of those, or you don't have enough people to talk to on a daily basis, and you don't have the amount of escrows. I would definitely check out Shawn Rogers and the Mr. Rogers team. I got his email and phone number up there. But walk me through some of the key systems. If I were to join your team, I'm floundering. I'm not doing well when it comes down to closings. What kind of systems am I missing, and what kind of systems do you bring to help agents grow their business?
Great question, Mike. And I also wanted to thank everybody here for allowing me to speak and help other people. And thank you, West USA, for all you do for us. From the bottom of my heart, I think that a lot of people might get nervous of not moving forward at the correct speed. So what, as a team lead, I bring is confidence to them, and I'll always support them. But more importantly, we have a system in place. We have thousands of leads that are accessible, leads coming in all the time. There's actually a process, believe it or not, to working leads and to staying on your course. So when somebody reaches out, a client, different skill sets are in place and they're all available to us. So much like your team, Mike, and as a top producer as you are, you have to always be there for somebody, but you have to offer something that they don't have. And with us, it's leads, it's a CRM, it's years of experience, it's just the know-how to navigate through the beginning to the end of any given transaction.
How do you guys stay in touch with your clients?
I think it's a little different when as a team lead. I like to spot check. I call it batch checking. I'll pretty much go into the system and just look and see what might need a little, refresher. But for the agents on the team, there's texting, there's email, there's calling. And then when you get deeper into it, you would put them on different action plans and different stage settings. And just, for example, a relocation lead, you may not need to reach out to 25 times in a week if they're not moving for a couple of years. So you adjust the action plans, and we have those predetermined on which best fits that client, which goes back to the beginning, Mike, of finding out what they're looking for.
What am I not asking you?
I think you're covering a great gamut. I think one thing, not that you didn't ask, but I think a lot of people don't understand that this business, if you're converting 3 leads out of 100, you're doing pretty well. But those 97 other leads, it doesn't mean that they're not going to convert. They're just not going to convert perhaps right now.
Yeah, we try to put people on our timetable. Okay,
We
buying
do.
a home and selling a home is a major financial decision, and I can't put you on my timetable. If you had to do it, go back in time and had the opportunity to do it again, what would you do different? Or what would you focus like what would you do to avoid the mistakes and to I don't know, speed up the success?
Believe it or not, Mike, I think about this all the time now that I'm getting older. I look back, and the people that were where I wanted to be, I would have definitely taken more time to hear how they made it to the level. I guess you should listen to the people that have made it in the industry as opposed to everything around you. And that's
powerful.
That's really powerful.
Oh, thank you. And, it's kind of like listening to the grandparent story. They made it through this or that. And
I heard a comment a long time ago, and I haven't thought of it till just now, Shawn, so thank you. And the comment is, stop comparing your insides to other people's outsides.
Exactly.
You're a unique individual, and just because your pattern didn't take off as fast as somebody else's pattern, that does not mean you're not cut out for this job. What it basically means is, fail forward. You are who you are because of everything that's happened to you in your life.
Right.
So.
And I'd like to real quick, just thank my mom. I love you, my wife, and West USA. And I say that not just for accolades or thanking them. I say that because when you look at successful people, you sometimes realize it didn't start off that way, and it takes time, and they struggle with different. It's a big responsibility being alive.
Well, I always maintain that this is definitely not a business to be done alone. I don't know how many weeks we just tell agents to go out and find the top producers and take them out to lunch and spend that time. Fortunately for me, and I don't consider myself a smart man by any means.
I'm right there with you, Mike.
But I've always done that.
Yeah.
I've always done that from day one of just linked into people whom I wanted to produce at their level, spend that time and learn things from them. And that, I think, is really what a coach can do for you and a team can do for you, because it's you have to invest in your business. It's like going to college or going to a university. And if you don't want to pay for it now, you're just going to take longer to make the money. So I leave that with a final thought. Shawn, thanks so much.
You're more than welcome.
Appreciate it. And leave everybody with the quote of the day. Well, I have a day. If I know how to make the most of it, I have a treasure. We gotta work on quotes that I have an easier time reading.
We do this on purpose. We're trying to make them exponentially harder.
Actually, I think you do.
This is the Ron Burgundy
We
part
laughed
of
at
the show.
this for about an hour last week when we saw you.
Level up.
All right, appreciate everybody joining us today. Go out and sell a home.